Thank you for being here today. We are very excited to welcome several of her expert providers to today's conversation. You can learn more about each of the experts featured in this episode, as well as many other of our trusted professionals through our free provider directory, and we will link that down into the show notes. This episode is part of our expert roundtable series, where we gather our professionals together from a range of fields to talk about the topics that matter most to moms. We host 4 of these discussions each year, and this is the third of our 2025 series. Our roundtables are a cornerstone of Her Health Collective. They bring together our diverse perspectives, they foster collaboration across disciplines, and they help us support moms with more connected, well-rounded care, while also giving our experts the opportunity to learn from each other. Today, we're diving into the theme, creating a legacy of health for your family. So it's important for us to say that legacy isn't just about genetics or heirlooms. It's about the habits, values, and systems that we build in our homes and the way we model health and well-being for our children. These everyday choices, the things that we prioritize and how we navigate the challenges and how we care for ourselves and each other become the foundation of the health legacy we pass on to our future generations. So before we begin, we'll invite each of our experts to introduce themselves and share their area of focus. I'm just going to go across my screen with the person I see first, and that is Dr. Nora. Hi, Dr. Nora. Can you get us started by introducing yourself, please?
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. I am Dr. Nora Witten, owner of Functional Physio / Functional Pelvic Health. We are a physical therapy clinic. We treat pelvic floor conditions as well as orthopedics. And I'm super excited to chat a little bit more about taking care of yourself as a mom.
That's great. Thank you so much. It's great to have you here. Sarah.
Hey, everyone. I'm Sarah Parise. I'm the founder of Great Days by Sarah, and my whole mission in life is to get moms to carve out 2% of their day for their physical, mental, and emotional health so we can feel our best and therefore give our best to our loved ones and our families.
It's always great to see you, Sarah. Thanks for being here. Hi, Marianne. Can you pop on, please?
Sure. Hi, I'm Marianne Brenneman. I am the owner of Mindful Health and Harmony. I am a Family Life Coaching Association board certified expert. It's a mouthful. It means I work with tweens, teens, young adults, and parents.
Perfect. You'll have a lot of perspective. Thank you. Hi, Veronica.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Veronica Kemeny, and I'm one of the founders of Anchor Perinatal Wellness, which is based in Raleigh and serving perinatal families across North Carolina with specialized mental health services during pregnancy, postpartum, birth, loss, everything along that spectrum. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Veronica. We're excited to hear your ideas on legacy of health. Anastasia.
Hey, I'm Anastasia. I am a therapist and coach, and I work with families and moms just to help them create that life that's calm and less chaotic.
That's fantastic. We're excited to hear what you have to say. Hi, Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna Lutz. I'm a registered dietitian, a co-owner of Lutz and Alexander Nutrition Therapy. We specialize in eating disorders and pediatric nutrition. I also create Sunny Side Up Nutrition, which is a free resource to parents with recipes and non-diet parenting feeding advice. And I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Anna. You'll have a great perspective. Thanks so much. Hey, Nicole.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Bazinet. I'm an occupational therapist and owner of Be Well Baby, a infant specialty practice helping babies with infant feeding, movement and milestones, and torticollis treatment here in Raleigh.
We're happy to have you. Thanks, Nicole. And Irene.
Hey there, I'm Irene Googe, and I work as a sleep coach and postpartum doula with Loving Lesson Sleep Solutions, where I help parents get more sleep with the right strategies. I provide sleep coaching success programs for families with newborns to preschool age to really pinpoint those challenges and get to the root cause and help them become calm, confident, and rested in their parenting journey.
Thanks, Irene. This is fantastic. We have a really great group of people here today. So thanks so much for your time.
All right. We have so much to cover today. We are going to dive right in. And one of the things that I think of when we think of legacy is food culture. It's such a prominent piece of what is talked about in raising kids these days, especially if you have a daughter. I have a daughter. It's something I think about a lot. When we think about legacy, it's one of those powerful influences that we pass down to our children. It's not just what we eat, but how we eat that leaves a lasting impact. Families can hand down dieting and body image struggles to our children. Or we can also pass down a culture of nourishment, balance, and joy when it comes to food. So I'm going to direct this to Anna first, because this is your absolute specialty here. So in your practice and on your podcast, you speak about how breaking away from generational dieting can have a profound impact on a family's health. Can you share how modeling behaviors like prioritizing nourishment over body size creates a healthier legacy for our children?
Absolutely. This is something I'm so passionate about, and is why we created Sunny Side Up Nutrition, honestly, was to get this message out to parents. So as we all know, modeling is the best way for children to learn. And so all too often, children are taught about dieting and controlling one's body size through dieting by watching the parents or the adults in their lives. And, they learn that they might learn from their parents or their families that about the value that thin bodies are better than larger bodies. And sadly, that then gets passed down, and then it really influences how they approach food and the values about bodies and food in their own life. But by breaking that cycle, we can really have that significant impact on our children's physical and mental health. So what I think about is dieting is a significant risk factor for eating disorders. There's a lot of risk factors for eating disorders that parents have no control over, but dieting is something that, we can't totally cushion our children from hearing dieting messages, but we can really think about what we're modeling in our homes. Another thing I think about is weight cycling. So we know that losing weight and gaining weight is a significant health risk. A lot of the physical health concerns or health diagnoses that are associated with larger bodies, actually, when you look at the research, is linked to weight cycling. So when someone isn't spending their life constantly dieting and losing weight and gaining weight, that can have a significant impact on their health. And then I think about our children's mental health, and knowing that their self-esteem and their worth isn't tied to their body size, that they're going to be accepted by their loved ones no matter what. The thing is that it's hard, right? And so it's really thinking, well, what parents can do. And I really like to talk to parents about, let's just start to think about the language we use in our homes about food and bodies. Let's think about modeling moving our bodies for joy and because it feels good for our physical and mental health, not to change our bodies. We don't have to solve all of our body concerns all at once in order to make an impact and break this cycle. I like to tell parents, let's fake it till we make it. What are some little things we can do? And that can really make a significant impact. And I'm happy to talk about more concrete things too, but I want to pass it on.
Thank you so much, Anna. And I do actually have a follow-up question for you.
Great.
I'm thinking about the pressure parents feel to make sure their child is getting all the nutrients. I think about my daughter and all of the breads and cakes she's eating, and I'm like, but you need broccoli. So in those situations, how can we balance encouraging a variety of nutrients that logically we know is helpful for our child to grow and get stronger, while also cultivating that positive relationship with food?
It's a great question. And so I really feel like it goes back to modeling, where our culture wants us to talk about food and nutrition a lot. And maybe our instinct might be to explain to our young child why we want them to eat broccoli. But really, if we can go back to the modeling of what are we serving our children throughout the day for their meals and snacks? What are we ourselves doing? Are we stopping to eat and sit down with our children when we can? We all have very busy lives, but how are we modeling what eating well looks like? And so really thinking that we have thousands of opportunities, as parents know, of eating, right? We eat at least 3, if not more times a day. Think about how many times a month that ends up being. And so really thinking the way children learn what quote unquote healthy eating is by the food we offer. It's by how we eat. And it's by really prioritizing taking time to stop and fuel our bodies for what we have to do that day.
Yeah, Thank you so much, Anna. I want to turn it over to Sarah at this point because, Sarah, you are the expert at modeling healthy habits and making it a doable part of your day. So, can you dive into that a little bit? How do we model healthy habits for the next generation when it comes to food and movement of our body?
Absolutely. I think the first kind of overarching theme that I stick with is progress over perfection. It's like you said, your daughter's grabbing, carbohydrates and cakes, and that's like what their little bodies want. And just teaching them that it doesn't need to be perfect. Like you can have dessert at night, you can go to a birthday party and have a snack, but overall, this is what we're feeding ourselves at night. Like when we sit down to dinner and we have protein and we have fruits and vegetables and we have those healthy carbohydrates, that's the focus, but it doesn't make the other things bad either. That it's like you want to eat, I say 80-20 all the time. Like 80% of the time you're making these good choices. And the other 20% of the time is, the stuff that are treats and that things we want and things like that. And I think you'd be surprised with a very early age, not labeling things as good or bad really helps. That I think just kind of takes away that pressure of, because I grew up in the 80s and 90s, like skinny was the only version of things you had to be. And it was very clear from a young age what was good and what was bad. And brownies aren't bad. Like brownies make you feel great. And
Brownies are life.
Recipe.
I'm just going to interject and say there.
Right? And we have a brownie recipe that's been passed down generation to generation in our family. And it's something that we hold so dear, like the process and the ritual of making these brownies and enjoying them with family and enjoying them with friends that come over. Those brownies aren't bad. I mean, should I eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? No, but it's just about making those healthy choices. And it is all about modeling. So if you you only put like bread and some broccoli in front of your kids, of course they're going to eat bread. Like I would eat bread too if I was able to, but just having those choices and kind of taking the pressure away from what we say like traditional dinner looks like. So growing up, it was like you had your protein, you had your carbohydrates, you had a vegetable. Well, it doesn't need to look like that. We do a lot of charcuterie board dinners because I have two very picky eaters, and we give an option of proteins and like an option of dairy choices and an option of fruits and vegetables. And it really doesn't take all that much more time to do, because we prep things a little bit ahead of time and then give the choices. So there's a lot to choose from. So it's not like, oh, there's only broccoli tonight. Oh, my daughter hates broccoli. What can we do? Like it might be, okay, do you want carrots and ranch? Maybe you want some broccoli. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's snap peas tonight. But having this charcuterie board thing we've come back to a bunch, even with sports nights, of having just options. And there's a lot of healthy options, and it doesn't need to look a particular way. Your plate doesn't need to be that chicken with the broccoli and the rice like it did for many of us growing up. Yeah. But giving them the power to choose, I think, is huge.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah.
I wanted to throw in something around infants and feeding, especially as a postpartum doula. One of the things that I oftentimes see is like, is my baby eating enough, whether we're breastfeeding or formula feeding? And so it's recognizing, can I tune in and know and understand what my baby actually needs and be okay and trust them in that process? And I just share that because sometimes that's a great place to just start and reset. So we start laying that foundation as we model those healthy habits.
Thanks so much, Irene. That's a really good point that you just made. I'd like to move into the section where we're talking about our self-care and growth as a model for passing down important habits to our children in terms of legacy. So when we as parents invest in ourselves, we model what it means to live in balance. By caring for our mental, our emotional, and our physical health, we're showing our children that our self-worth and well-being are non-negotiable, and we're hoping that they pick up on that as well. It's a very powerful legacy to pass down. What role does parental self-care and personal growth play in shaping the health legacy we pass down? And Irene, we're first going to direct it to you. Again, in your work, you emphasize the importance of parenting from a place of rest. Oh my gosh, that sounds delightful, but so hard to do. How does modeling rest and self-care impact children's understanding of what healthy living looks like?
Yes, we all want to be in that dream state of like being restful and showing up calm and confident in all we're doing. And I think that it's a process and a practice that we incorporate, because I really believe that rest is a mindset shift where it's recognizing like, how do I take care of myself as I also take care of you. Because I think a lot of times we think about just parenting and it's like me doing something for my child. But if we can step back and think about parenthood, like how are we together as parent and child in our home in this relationship? How do we make things work even in the newborn season? I think that you can begin this in understanding how we're all communicating and being able to actually just pause and model what it looks like to go to the bathroom and take care of yourself. A lot of times, like that's one of the first places I encourage parents, like it's okay to put your child in a safe place and go to the bathroom, use the restroom, because then you're going to be able to show up and take care of your child. So I think that the mistake we make is that we feel like self-care has to be this like big grandioso thing that we need to do, like getting our nails or hair done or something like that. But I think it's just like, how do we take care of ourselves in these moments and give moments to just breathe and slow down? And I think that our children are continuously showing us like, slow down, I'm not that fast. And so our culture is fast and biggie sized. And so just sometimes just being able to slow down and be in that place of rest.
I think something that's really important that you said is that rest is slowing down and taking a moment. A lot of people, I know myself, confuse rest with sleep. I got a lot of sleep last night, but in reality, my brain is moving 1,000 miles a minute. So I think that was a really great distinction that you made. So thanks so much for that, Irene.
Yeah, I'll share one of my best tips is if you can take a rest in the middle of your day, just pause and start with 5 minutes. If you're like, I can't do 20 minutes, it will be amazing to see how much your day multiplies in time and energy.
Okay. And so when you say rest, you're saying even just sitting and breathing deep breaths for
sit, breathe. You can lay down horizontally because, if you tell a new parent sometimes like just sleep when baby sleeps and all that, that can be annoying. So it can really just be like, let me just get horizontal. Let me just do some deep breathing, maybe meditate on a scripture, maybe repeat a favorite mantra or quote, and just take 5 minutes, ideally 20, but start with 5 and work your way up to it. Like that has been a game changer for me.
Yes, yes, very good. Yeah, Sarah mentioned in the chat, she mentioned slow down to speed up. I think that sounds delightful to just shut the brain off for just a very short time. I'm going to turn it over to Anastasia. You talk about in your work how children trigger our old wounds and insecurities. Can you explain how personal growth and self-awareness help parents respond with consistency and compassion instead of immediately reacting on the spot?
Yeah, of course. I think a lot of times with the personal growth, it helps us become aware of how we're feeling. And I was a school counselor for years, and in that job, we spent a lot of time on teaching kids feelings, right? Or I did as the school counselor. Like, how do you feel today? Why did you hit that child? Were you mad? Were you angry? Whatever. And so I think a lot of times in the personal growth and in that self-development, it really helps us learn how we're feeling. How are we feeling in the moment? Because you start really investigating all these past things that happened in your life or what's happening now. So I do believe that if we can stop, take a breath before we react, think about how we're feeling, that's really going to impact the consistency of how you're responding to your child. And so if they see that with you, then they're going to, like all the modeling stuff you're talking about, they will model that. They will learn from you that, yeah, we're not just going to react, we're going to stop, we're going to think. And it's not even something you're going to have to verbalize. It's just going to be some organic thing that happens in your home. And like, even when y'all were talking about the food, I was thinking like modeling can be really hard if you still have those old wounds. So not beating yourself down, right? Because you're reacting to a child because they want just whatever for dinner, but really thinking about, why am I having this feeling? Why am I reacting to this? And if you can get to the why of it, a lot of times that will help you in your reaction to them, in how you respond to them. One of the tips that I have a lot of times for families is, I tell them to do it for the kids, but I think it's really great for us as parents as well, is a feelings poster, right? So keep a feelings poster with like pictures of faces on your fridge. And whenever you're reacting to something, look at that poster, be like, okay, how am I feeling in this moment? Am I angry? Am I like just anxious, like what's happening in my body right now? And then you can do the same thing with the kids, like just when they're doing stuff, like, how are you feeling? And so I think a lot of times if we can bring that feeling language in, it helps us to stop and think.
That's a really great thought that you had. And as you were talking, I was also thinking of parents who are raising neurodivergent children, because a lot of times there's very minimal pause before they have the outbursts. And that is really triggering for a parent. If you had that resource available to you where you can see it, that's a great way to model for sure.
It is. And what's really cool about having something like that is then it brings language. So especially with neurodivergent kids, if they can have words a lot of times, or as they get older, if you can get them to verbalize, it gets them to be able to stop and think. And that can also help with the behavior, because you're not just getting sounds or anger, you're getting also the word with it. And then you start communicating.
Right. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Nora, I'd like to come over to you and get your physical therapist perspective on all of this. Many moms feel guilt when they prioritize their own health. How do you encourage moms in your practice to reframe this mindset? And how does reprioritizing their wellness ultimately benefit the entire family? You can also use yourself as an example because you have two small kiddos. So I'm sure that you have feedback.
Yeah, definitely. This is something I've definitely struggled with myself, and it's hard and it's real. And so I think first, just like acknowledging that that's maybe how you feel is a great place to start. But what I think personally for me is I've realized that when I prioritize, my exercise specifically, I mean, it could be, doing your PT or, going to PT or, whatever it is that really like helps you. But like for me, exercise, when I prioritize that, like I'm like, wow, I'm such a better mom. I'm more patient. I just feel better, right? And so even though I might feel guilty about taking 30 minutes to an hour to work out when my kids are in the kids care at the gym, or, like I've let my kids watch TV while I work out. It's like, but I'm going to be so much more engaged and present if I just take this time. And I think realizing that, being able to give your kids your full attention, I guess one of my friends said it this way, like they don't need your attention all the time, but some of the time they do need all of your attention. And so I think sometimes when we don't prioritize our health, it kind of turns into this like maybe they're never getting the best version of us, or we're always, a little preoccupied. And so by making sure you're healthy, then I think you can just show up a lot more present for your family, your partner, spouse, right? Of like, I feel like we've all like noticed that probably in somebody else of like, oh, you need to work out. Like you have, you're really
stress
today. So yeah, I think kind of thinking about it from that angle, and it's okay to take that time for yourself, because then ultimately the time that you are with your family is going to be more productive and just better.
Sure. I have a follow-up question, but I also want to pull Sarah into this follow-up question. Dr. Nora, if you wanted to answer it first, and then Sarah, I wanted to talk about burning out, like the burnout cycle, and how there's a movement about redefining motherhood and balancing motherhood. And you were talking about prioritizing, Dr. Nora, like finding that time to work out or do what you need to do for your body. Do you have pointers that you give to your clients on how to squeeze that in? If they're feeling completely overwhelmed with their day, how do they not get into this overwhelm cycle or this burnout cycle? Do you have different ideas that you offer them in order to squeeze in a little bit of time for themselves to move their bodies?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it can definitely again be hard, but like I think one, letting go of that your workout has to be like perfect. I think that's something I've struggled with, and a lot of moms that I work with who, before they had kids, they were running marathons or, just going to workout classes 5 days a week. And so they're like, well, if I don't run for an hour, like what's the point? And so trying to be like, no, like something is always better than nothing, and like getting that mindset, and just, even doing it in front of your kids, or, letting them know, hey, for 10 minutes, like mommy's going to be doing her exercises. I'm right here. You can do it in the playroom, but like in 10 minutes, like I'll play with you. And so even just like squeezing in those little things, I think can be really helpful. And even now, like my 5-year-old, like he'll come out in the garage with me. He might work out with me. He might draw with chalk, like, but it's like I still kind of can interact with him. So I think one, doing it around your kids, and then also like something's always better than nothing. So letting go of the guilt that your workout's not long enough or perfect enough too can be really helpful.
Along those same lines, I always say we have to drop the all or nothing. Like Dr. Nora said, that we kind of have in our head before kids of like, I'm going to the gym. Or when I was training, when I was a runner, it was like, if I didn't run 6 miles, it wasn't worth even running. I'd have to do something else to kind of fill in the gaps. And then you become a mom and you're like, 15 minutes becomes so valuable. So kind of just getting rid of that all or nothing and doing something is better than nothing. But to tack on that too, is it doesn't need to be by yourself. Like it can be with your children. So a lot of the things that we've been doing in the afternoon, I have early morning clients now, so I don't always get my workout in. So in the afternoon, we've been playing continuous tag, and we play with my kids and the neighbors' kids. And so someone's it, kind of like traditional tag. You're running around the backyard, and if you get tagged, you're never out and you don't freeze. Like someone picks an activity. So you have to do jumping jacks, so you have to do squats, and then you do 10 squats and then you get back in, or you do 10 jumping jacks, you get back in. So very easily these 15 minutes turn into like, my heart rate was up for 15 minutes. This does fully count as a workout. And it does count as self-care, even though it's not alone and it's not like what you would consider traditional, like in the gym. So getting a little creative so the kids, aren't waiting for you. They can play with you. They can do this too, obviously, depending on the age group of your kids that you're doing. But we've incorporated neighbors, and people are coming over, and people love this continuous tag. And moms are like, oh, I haven't worked out in months. This is actually really hard to run around for 10 minutes in a tag situation. But yeah, dropping that all or nothing, and then not having it in your head that it's going to be like a quiet workout at the gym or like an hour-long silent yoga class, which are lovely, but not always doable as moms.
And I just want to give a big heartfelt thank you to all of our experts. For our listeners, you can find information about all of these fabulous experts and all of the other incredible providers that we have on our directory at herhealthcollective.com. Be sure to also check out our other podcast episodes where you will find these fabulous providers, and look at our website. We have articles and videos of content from all of these providers, so you can dive deep on whatever topic is plaguing you at the moment, which as a parent we know is always a lot. So thank you everybody for being with us, and we look forward to the next one.
Thank you, everybody. It was great to see you today.